The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of our Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Y'all started from PBS Kids, what you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video.
Come on, boys, get loud. 'Cause when the music starts bumping, the whole place will be jumping. It's my scene, you know what I'm.
Hey y'all, it's Tiana and I'm back with another video. Hi, hello, how you guys doing? My name is Tiana and welcome back to the pirate ship, also known as Harry Hook's pirate ship. I'm the captain, you were not my first mate. I don't got no first mate because you want to know why. Bring your ear closer to the speaker so you can hear me clearly. Nobody's worthy of being the first mate. But hi, hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Tiana and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. So for those of you guys who do not know, The Princess and the Frog is getting a live action remake. Mind you, I am kind of over live action remake discourse when it comes to Disney, simply because a lot of the takes that I have been seeing about them have been cheeks. They've been straight ass to the point where sometimes it just gets ignorant. But I did have some things to say about this live action Princess and the Frog, because in my opinion, this movie low-key may need a reboot, but also at the same time, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. Mind you, I am somebody that has seen The Princess and the Frog so many times I have lost count, because it was like, you know, first Black Disney princess movie. This shit came out literally when I was in elementary school, and I've seen it so many times up until like the last few years. It's been like probably like a year last time I watched like The Princess and the Frog. And the more time that passes on, I kind of do like a yearly reflection about The Princess and the Frog to see if I noticed anything new with it or different with it. And The Princess and the Frog, in my opinion, is a story I feel like needs more of a continuation than it just needing to be remade. Because The Little Mermaid, in my opinion, I have talked about this in the past, that the reason I can understand why The Little Mermaid got a remake, because it needed one. There was just not enough time with the movie, and that's why there were certain elements in the original Little Mermaid that fell flat, in my opinion. But then again, that movie's only like 80 minutes long. The new one, they actually gave the story more time and were able to flesh out a lot more. The Princess and the Frog, in my opinion, that's kind of a longer movie. It's long compared to how the animated Little Mermaid is. But if you guys actually remember what happens in The Princess and the Frog, you low-key may be having like similar feelings to me as to why I'm not really too keen on having like a live action remake of this movie. Because one, I feel like a lot of y'all don't know what frogs look like in real life. I will not be seated. I'm sorry. Looking at frogs, like, low-key kind of freaks me out. Like, I like watching Amphibia, but those are animated cute little amphibians. In real life, do you guys not realize that y'all are going to be seeing actual frogs jump around? It's not going to be animated like how it is in the film. Is that something that you guys are not going to get? And I understand why they want to do a live-action Princess and the Frog, because one, money, but also two, for the sake of representation. But if this movie is going to get a live action reboot, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done with it, because the original movie, I love it. I think it's a great film, but it honestly failed Tiana, in my opinion. I felt like Tiana really could have had a much better movie, because it's one thing with Sleeping Beauty. That movie isn't necessarily about Aurora. The movie isn't about Briar Rose. It's kind of about this entire community that surrounds this one girl. With The Princess and the Frog, this isn't really a movie that is about Princess Tiana. It is a movie that is about New Orleans. And I have talked about this before in my video I made about how The Princess and the Frog has caused so much emotional distress. But there are elements in this movie that just low-key have barely much of anything that have to do with Tiana. At least not in like the foreground. And there's just so much that's happening here. There's so many characters in it that I really felt like the film could have done without. There's just so much that goes on within this story, and I personally do think that it would look beautiful live action, because the film is amazing to look at. It's beautifully animated. The soundtrack slaps, but also at the same time, I'm just like, do we really want to see frogs jumping around the whole time? Do we really want to look at that? And mind you, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a live action Princess and the Frog, because like I said, if I wanted to go look at Amphibias, I would have went to Amphibia. But Tiana, for like 1/4 of her movie, is human. The other 3/4 of the film, she's a fucking frog. She's literally a damn frog. And oh god, I hate the fact that people try to act as if us calling it what it is a bad thing when it comes to the Princess and the Frog. No. Disney always feels the need to turn their characters of color into animals, or just characters that are just not human, because I remember that was a big critique that a lot of people had with Soul. Mind you, that Soul is a movie I low-key don't necessarily care too much for, and there's enough discourse about Soul out here for you guys to look at. I personally don't really have much to say about the film, but I have a lot more to say about live action Princess and the Frog that is going to be going, because I think it's amazing that there is going to be another role out here that is specifically for a dark-skinned woman to have. I think it is great that we are getting more Princess Tiana content, but also this film, I feel like it just doesn't necessarily do her character justice. We meet Tiana, we see that she is this hard-working woman. She's like literally 19, barely. We see that we have this woman that most desperately wants to open up her own restaurant, and she's not necessarily focused on love and relationships, like having like dating, like being with, like having a partner and all that. She's not necessarily focused on that. She's really kind of focused on her career, but then white people out here are just making this shit fucking difficult. I love that aspect of Tiana, but I feel like the film just kind of got a little, it just kind of got a little disappointing in my opinion, because after we find out about Tiana and learn more about who she is as a person, it just kind of cuts to her and Naveen going back and forth. It just like cuts to her and Naveen going back and forth, and then, you know, they fall in love and yada yada yada. It would have been great to see more about her story and like who she was as a person, because that was my issue that I had with the original Little Mermaid, is that I felt like we didn't really get enough time to be with Ariel and understand who she was. That's why a lot of people had like their critiques about her going on land and all of that. It's just they needed more time. The Princess and the Frog, in my opinion, the film had enough time to be there for Tiana, but they were like, so they kept continuing to take the attention off of her. They kept taking the attention off of her because we have Tiana. Oh my god, y'all, this reminds me of like the situation that went on with Wendell and Wild. Ella Pastoral, Emma, she posted a really good video about like Wendell and Wild and how it needed work. But the Princess and the Frog and Wendell and Wild share similar issues. Anytime we get like some focus on Kat, the shit focuses away from her. And then it goes to somebody else in the community. And then it goes to somebody else in the community. Then it goes to somebody else in the community. Then it comes back to Kat. And then it leaves again. And it comes back to somebody else in the community. And then it comes back to Kat. Like, that literally is the Princess and the Frog. It's just so much shit going on, and Tiana don't be there. The story just kept focusing away from her. And that is my problem when it comes to a lot of stories that just lead with black girls. Why is it so hard for y'all to just sit here and focus on her? She's the main character. She's the person that we're supposed to be, you know, caring about the most. And mind you, I deeply cared about Tiana, mainly because I understood her, and also, like I said, she's black girl, of course I love her by default, but also I felt like that's part of the reason why a lot of people just kind of get frustrated with this movie, is because we didn't really necessarily see enough of Tiana in it. Because anytime we got time with Tiana, the shit just kept cutting. And there is a scene in The Princess and the Frog that I personally think, like, say y'all can argue what you want about with me about certain scenes that don't need to be in here. That scene where like the two people on the boat and like they was like fishing or something like that, why was that there? That really just could have been cut. The Princess and the Frog is a pretty decently long movie for like an animated Disney point like perspective. It had the time to do better with the way it told its story, but I'm just like, y'all just chose not to do that. Because we had Tiana, then y'all went to Shadow Man. One thing that kind of pisses me off the most about the Shadow Man is that him and Tiana did not interact with each other until like the last third of the film. Last fourth, if we're being a little bit specific. And it was just like, it felt rushed. It just felt very rushed. I'm telling you, the last few minutes of the last like 30 minutes of this movie, when I like sit there and I rewatched it, I was just like, it needed more time. It needed more time. Now I understand filmmaking is hard, especially animation is hard. Especially, I'm somebody that makes my own comic That shit be, oh my god. I give my applause to anybody that draws anything, because that shit takes up time. It is not easy, and I don't care what nobody has to say about it. Filmmaking is hard. Animation is hard. But if we're gonna adapt The Princess and the Frog into like a live action story, I feel like there's just gonna be some critiques, like some tweaks that need to be done there. But honestly, I don't really care to have a live action version of The Princess and the Frog. If y'all are just going to do the same thing that y'all did in the original one, that honestly failed our main character, our leading lady. If y'all are just going to continue to do Tiana like how you did in the first movie, then I don't want it. Because The Princess and the Frog, the runtime for it is about how long? Let's go ahead and look it up. What exactly Princess and the Frog runtime? It's an hour and 30 minutes. I thought this shit was longer than that. So it's about almost 100 minutes long. Is it about 100 minutes long? It's almost like 100 minutes long, and that's longer than like other Disney movies. And a lot of these Disney movies now, they go on for almost about like 3 hours, I'd say. So I feel like that would give us more time to be with Tiana as a human. So I really feel like they would do her character justice right there. But also, I am so particular on just because it's cute in a cartoon doesn't mean it will be cute in real life. Like, we know like the human characters are fine. They're not gonna be affected. I don't, oh god no. Like, we gotta, Amphibia, are the frogs gonna be looking animated? Like, I have some concerns about how these animals are going to look. Mind you, I was not really a fan of like the Jungle Book. Like, I like the animated movie. I didn't really care to watch the live action one. But I'm just like, how is this gonna go? Please let me know. How exactly is this going to go down? But seeing like the direction that a lot of live action Disney films go in, they always go for like that longer approach. And sometimes these movies just be too long for no damn reason. I'm not even joking when I say Maleficent was longer than it should have been. I love that movie for personal reasons because I relate to it. But I feel like it just kind of dragged on a bit, and I don't want The Princess and the Frog to feel like that film where it just drags on. But the animated movie did feel like that at some point, because it's like the story just kept focusing off of Tiana and it kept going to other people. Because mind you, there's like 5 different villains in this fucking movie. There's like 5 different villains in it. You got the Shadow Man, Dr. Facilier. Then your ass has Lawrence, that white man that was basically, okay, Naveen was terrible to him, and there's like a lot of fat phobia that happened with Lawrence's character. But we have Lawrence, and then we have those 2 mean ass white men that were being fucking nasty to Tiana. And then there's another one in here too. I can't really think of it at the moment, but I'm pretty sure it may be just those 4. Why were there so many more villains in this movie than the other ones? Like, what was the reason? Like, it just kind of irritates me how like this story just focused off of Tiana too much, in my opinion. Because I understand the need to get away from the main character so we can learn more about the other characters and their motives and whatnot. But I was like, you literally have all of this shit, and I get it. Like, and it's annoying because Lawrence isn't even necessarily Tiana's antagonist in this film, because he's Naveen's antagonist too. He's just Naveen's antagonist. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just irritated because I know in the live action movie, they're just gonna bring all of these people back. And like I said, a lot of these live action movies are longer. So I was like, does that mean these people's scenes are going to be longer and Tiana is only going to be human still for like 1/4 of the film? I don't know. I most definitely don't know how I feel about the live action Princess and the Frog happening. It would be nice to get some new music from this. But I personally feel like if the Princess and the Frog is going to get a live action rendition, I personally think it needs to be like the Alice in Wonderland approach. Because you guys know with the Alice in Wonderland movie, it's Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. That basically is something that happened after the animated film. I think The Princess and the Frog, in my opinion, is going to be a movie where it should take place after that. I'm not, like I said, I'm just not a fan of seeing Tiana be a frog again. I'm really not. I'm not. I want to see more about Tiana as a person. I want to know more about who she is. That's why I was excited for that Tiana show that we ain't heard shit about. That's why I was excited for that, because I wanted to know more about her. I loved her. She was like one of my best role models that I had growing up. You know, next to Starfire, Miss Coriander. I love that positive impact that Princess Tiana had on me. Like, I would even read like Princess Tiana fan fiction because I wanted to read more about her as a person. I didn't necessarily care too much about her being a frog because I understand her being a frog helped her grow as a person, but honestly I feel like her being a frog just helped Naveen grow more as a person instead of her. You guys get where I'm coming from? I love Prince Naveen, I truly do, but The Princess and the Frog, I think it would be better if it was just kind of like a continuation of the animated film and not just like a remake of that right there, because I was just like, I don't want to see this again. I don't, because I feel like you guys are just going to add all this extra shit in here again and she's still gonna be human for only like a fourth of the movie. Just make another one. You can still do live action Princess and the Frog, but just making the events that happen afterwards. Please give us that animated Tiana series, please. Just do it. Just give us that. Just give us that. But also it just kind of goes into that thing where a lot of people just kind of don't appreciate something until it's live action. Because y'all sit here and complain all the time about these live action remakes being made, but also a lot of y'all don't seem to appreciate animation. A lot of y'all don't seem to appreciate comic books. A lot of y'all don't seem to appreciate like cartoons in general. A lot of y'all don't seem to appreciate that shit until it's like live action. So until y'all are able to do that, and then also Hollywood doesn't appreciate it either because the animation industry does not make that much money, but it costs so fucking much to make these films. It costs a lot to make these films. It costs a lot to make these like shows just as well. And also just making comic books in general is expensive. Art is expensive. Drawing is expensive. I wish like these people that are doing just as much work as live action, if not more at times, are getting paid just as much as, you know, the people that are doing live action. But we're not gonna get that. I don't know. This year I really wanted to focus a lot more on being more appreciative on animation and also being a bit more like critiquing it a little bit more in ways that are like, hey, does this really need live action? But the reason we need to understand why so much stuff gets live action is because people just don't appreciate the cartoon, but also it makes money just as well. I just am very nervous because the animation community is in shambles and I'm scared. I'm really scared, but it's just kind of like, it's weird. Like, I feel like it's just like a really odd situation because comics take forever to fucking make and those people do not make nearly as much money as they should. That's why I understand why so many of these people are working at artist alleys at conventions as like a source of income for them. That's why so many of these voice actors that be in these films and in these shows are at conventions, you know, signing autographs and meeting fans and all of that and charging a fee for those things. I get it. I completely understand it. And I low-key feel like it's just not going to be any better because we keep getting announcements for live action reboots of shit that just honestly don't need a remake of the same thing. It just needs a continuation of the story. And mind you, I'm all here for remaking something that's bad. Go ahead and do it. You want to remake something that was actually really fucking terrible? Go ahead and do that by all means. Like, don't sit here and try to pretend like it was good because it wasn't. I can't stand when people do that. If something is bad, go ahead and remake it. But The Princess and the Frog, in my opinion, while it's a movie that needs work, it's still fairly good in my opinion. It's still fairly good. It just needed work. But knowing that the movie needed work and seeing where it fell flat, that being it kept taking the focus away from its main character and also her being a freaking amphibian the entire time, that's where I'm like, yeah, I feel like in order to do this character justice, y'all just need to continue the rest of it. Please, just continue. Don't do this. Don't remake that. Just continue the rest of the story. But that's just all that I had to say. These were just kind of like some thoughts and opinions that I just had. It's something that I have been thinking about for like a few days. But yeah, that's just pretty much all I have to say. And I also am going to be presenting this panel at the Urban Nerd Con in next month in Atlanta. And I'm super duper excited. It's going to be called Revisiting the Princess and the Frog. And we are going to just be reflecting over the overall movie. We're going to be talking about the songs. We're going to be talking about the performances. We're going to be talking about the fashion. I most definitely can't wait to talk about which dress from Tiana was my favorite, but I'm super duper excited for that. and I can't wait to go. I will have the link down below for Urban NerdCon, by the way. You guys are interested in getting tickets and wanted to learn more about the event and such, but I cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. All my links down below. My shop is down below. I have 2 new books that will be coming out later this year. One is actually fiction, so yeah, you guys be like, you be writing nonfiction. Do you have original story? I do have an original story. I have a nonfiction book coming, which is going to be an educational one, like my last. And then a fictional story that is one that it's honestly really emotional, but I cannot wait to share with you guys. That's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day, night, or whatever time of the day you're watching this. I'm just glad you watched the video and you watched to the end. If you watched all the way to the end, comment down below which dress from Tiana was your favorite. Was your favorite dress the blue dress, or was it the green dress? I genuinely want to know. Comment down below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good night.